Hey everybody, how's everyone doing today? Welcome to a special edition live stream where we're going to have a guest here today with us, Matti Sulanto. Many of you may know him already through his channel, but here on YouTube, so I encourage you to check that out. But you know, Matti's been a professional photographer for decades, and despite all that, he still really enjoys photography. It's a passion I think we all share, and he's been very gracious to share his time today, as well as all of his knowledge through his YouTube channel. And it's a real honor and privilege to have him here with us today. So help me welcome Matti Sulanto into the stream here, and hopefully I can remember how to use this thing. There we go. And we're going to be talking about street and travel photography. So Matti, for those that may be new here or not familiar with you, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get right into the topic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matti Sulanto. I'm a photographer. I'm originally from Finland, currently in Australia. Yes, my background is in commercial photography. I did that for, like Rob said, many decades. But I quit about 9 years ago and just concentrated on personal photography. And my genre really is street photography. But of course, I'm a photographer. I do all kinds of pictures, whatever I find interesting. And I also have a YouTube channel. Please check it out. I suppose there's a link down below or somewhere.
and it's been an incredible resource for all of our community with all of your tips and photo walks and very I would say pragmatic gear reviews as well when you have some. I know a lot of us here on YouTube are kind of shifting away from at least between us, right? Us and Robin and all our friends here, to talk more about the craft itself. And travel and street photography are two genres that I am very inexperienced in. I do architectural type stuff. That's not really street photography though. That's just taking pictures of buildings, and then if somebody's in the shot, unlucky for that, right? But so that's why I wanted to have you on, because this is an area that I'm certainly lacking in, and I think a lot of people, it might be new for them as well. Particularly, it's a very popular genres, right? Travel and street. So I want to sort of lay a foundation for people to get started. Or I want you to do that for us. I'm going to let you do most of the heavy lifting here. But I would say the first thing, and I just said we don't talk about gear, but I do want to just talk about maybe what's sort of the ideal gear setup that you would use in travel and street photography, to get started. For somebody getting started, maybe they already have a camera system, but what would you recommend for people to get started with?
Oh, yes, that's a tough question because there are so many opinions out there. My opinion is not necessarily the only or the best or the right opinion, but my opinion is that keep your gear as simple as possible. I like to use only, get the filter off, just one camera, one lens. My favorite focal length is a 40mm lens, or something equivalent to this, a full frame Sony camera. But I also have the Ricoh GR3X, similar, the same angle of view. And these are the cameras that I use for 95% of my photography, no matter where I go. I just feel that, when I have a very simple camera setup, it takes my mind off the gear and I can concentrate more on whatever is in front of my eyes. And I remember back, one reason also is that back when I was a commercial photographer and I did paid commissioned work for a client, and I always had to carry like a bunch of gear, many bags, lights, cameras, lenses, and all that. And I kept dreaming about, you know, a time or that one day I might be able to just use one camera and one lens and do everything with that. And now the time is here, or has been for a few years now, and I'm so happy. I know that a lot of people are going to say or will say that you're going to miss out something if you only have one prime lens, but you're always going to miss out something. No matter what kind of zoom lens or how many cameras and lenses you have, you can never capture everything. And I just like to think that with this kind of setup, I'm concentrating more on quality pictures than the quantity, or quality more than quantity. And one benefit from using a simple setup like this or this is that when you get used to the angle of view of your camera or the lens, you can actually pretty accurately frame the shot even without a camera. So there are situations where you necessarily don't want to walk around like this or hold
Yeah,
your camera up to
yeah,
your eye all the time. So you can kind of walk up close to your whatever it is that you want to take picture of. Then you just, and then once you're there at the like a suitable distance, you know already what's going to end up in the frame. You know the composition. Then you just hold up the camera, nail the shot, put the camera away. Not that you have to be a stalker or anything, but there are situations where that is very, very beneficial, that you can actually see the composition and the framing even before you pull out your camera.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense in that, uh, when you go out with a zoom lens, you just, especially when you're starting out, I think when you go out with a zoom lens, you have this idea you want to try to capture any situation or any scene. And then you start overthinking a scene when you come up to it, right? Will this look better wide? Will this look better tighter in? Whereas, you go out with a single focal length, you just concentrate on what you can do with that particular focal length. And 40 millimeters, it is an interesting trend lately. People shooting at this 40 millimeter focal length, which is roughly, I guess, what we see naturally, right? Uh,
I suppose so. It's close to that.
Close enough, right? Maybe a little bit tighter. Uh, but that's just as important as another question I kind of have for you is, I've seen videos that you've done where you just go out in program mode and shoot uh, when you do your street photography. And is that sort of your general rule of thumb? You don't care about the settings so much, or because you have your focal length, or do you like to mess with the settings when you go out?
Well, whenever I'm using my GR, I'm on pretty much all the time on program mode
Mhm.
because it just works so well with this camera. But I do care about the settings to some extent. For example, when I'm out on the street, I want to, most of the time, and I suppose most street photographers, they want to freeze the motion, whatever it is, on the street, people
Mhm.
walking or running or whatever. So I have a program mode, auto ISO, minimum shutter speed around 1/250 or so, depending on
Okay.
the situation. So whenever I press the shutter, the shutter speed is never longer than my minimum, whatever I set for the
Mm.
auto ISO. So that much I care about the settings. With the
Mhm.
Sony, this comes the camera Sony A7 V. I'm mostly on aperture priority, also
Mm.
minimum shutter speed around 1/250, depending on the situation. And then most of the time, f5.6, f8, auto ISO, and
Okay.
that's about it. However, it's not always that, but most of the time it's that when I'm shooting, let's say, traditional street
Yeah.
photos. I've been experimenting with long exposure a little bit also, but that's we can
Right.
talk about that
Right.
later. But yeah, those are my settings, and
That
I
that
don't like
makes
to. Yeah,
no.
go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say it
I
makes
don't.
sense. The at 1/250th of a second, uh, that's ideal for just freezing the scene when there's a lot of motion going on potentially, whether it's like maybe at a street market or uh, cars going by. You want to capture a moment or a scene or that decisive moment. What better
Yeah.
way than 1/250th of a second? So, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah, I don't like to overcomplicate my settings
Hmm.
and my exposures. I like to be able to concentrate on the moment and on the decisive moment.
Yeah.
And uh, I always shoot raw so I can fix it in post. No, not
Sure.
really. I don't support really that phrase "fix it in post," but
Right.
it's so much easier to make minor adjustment to a raw file than a JPEG. I visited Tasmania. I did a low light video. Go to my channel and please check it out.
Hmm.
Anyway, for example, those kinds of pictures would be really, really hard to shoot in JPEG because the contrast is so high, and it's almost mandatory to fine tune those pictures in post, at
Right.
least to get the kind of pictures I wanted to get. I'm sure you can shoot JPEGs in those in that kind of situation, but the pictures will come out differently, and there's not a lot of room to fine tune them in
Sure.
post.
Sure. Uh, well, I think speaking of settings, being at 1/250th, that in itself kind of implies you're shooting in the daytime, I think. In good light. But and f5, 6, f8 with 1/250th, those are images generally I think in good light. And you're talking about in lower light or in high contrast? What do you mean exactly?
Well, I, of course, if it's very, very dark, it's hard to use 1/250
Right.
because simply it's not really possible. But even in low light, if I want to freeze the motion in the frame or in the scene,
Hmm.
I have to use relatively short shutter speed, of course. Otherwise, I can't freeze the motion.
Right.
I just let the ISO levels creep
Yeah.
up. I don't care about that too much. On the Sony, my high ISO limit is 12,800,
Hmm.
and that works quite nicely. Sometimes it's even higher if it's really, really dark.
Yeah.
But if you are in any kind of an urban environment where you probably are, if you're shooting street, you are not somewhere in the in the field or
Yeah.
something. There's usually some sort of light, street light, shop window, car headlight, or
Hmm.
something. So there's usually surprising amount of light. So it's usually possible to use 1/250, 1/125, which is still enough for some sort of motion. So I
Right.
recommend everyone to go out and see what happens and what you can find, because in my low light video I said that if you are shooting low light photos in or evening photos in any kind of urban setting like in a city, it's not really about shooting in low light. It's finding some sort of a light source in that low light environment, and
Hmm.
then you take your picture there, because you need some sort of light. If it's just darkness,
Right.
it's not much of a
Right.
scene for a photograph.
Right. Okay. And then one last thing I want to ask about that's semi gear related is and software aside, because we know there's a lot of great software out there, but how do you feel about noise in your images when you're shooting at these higher ISOs? do you try to embrace that, or do you always try to eliminate it using software?
I I have some excellent noise suppression apps on my laptop, but
Hmm.
I seldom use them. I don't really mind about some noise in my pictures,
Hmm.
depending on the picture and depending on the noise level. But I seldom apply any like special noise
Wow.
reduction to my pictures. And modern cameras are really, really good. I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, with the Sony, I can easily use 12,800 ISO,
Hmm.
and it doesn't look that bad. And
Yeah.
my background is in film photography. I studied in the 1970s,
Yeah.
and back then film was kind of grainy, and
Sure.
high speed films were super grainy. I grew up with that and learned my photography with that. So I don't really mind a little bit of noise, but of course, sometimes there can be a situation where I want to use a special app like DxO or something to
Right.
take away most of the noise. But usually I don't need any of that. I'm
Hmm.
just happy with the results that my camera delivers.
And I think that's really important because so many people are noise adverse. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing where everybody just harps on, noise in an image. Uh, but that's probably the least important thing, I think, in your photography as a craft. It's more about, framing and composition and things like that. Um, I didn't know if you had, let me know if you want to share an image or an example at any time from these questions. But you know, I I'm very content with noise as well in a lot of my images. Even I use filters, to enhance the noise or create more drama in the scene. Uh, it's not really my forte to be creative, but um, when it's just something that I had to ask because I'm personally I'm very adverse to noise. Being a wildlife photographer,
Mhm.
doing that a lot, but going into street and travel photography, it's more about the moment, and I think what what you were doing while you were traveling, the emotion or how it felt when you were there, than any of the technical things about the camera. But and eliminating, the focal length and just sticking with a single focal length, working with, just in program mode, let the camera handle the exposure, but more important, but not forgetting the settings. Like, you do want to freeze the action a lot of the times. And we'll talk about when we want to kind of get away from that.
Let
But
me share one picture, one high
oh,
ISO
please,
picture.
please.
Uh, all right, let's share. Here it is. This is black and white, but this is ISO 5000 on my Sony, so it looks pretty good. It's
Yeah.
black and white, not because of the noise, but because I wanted it to be black and white. I specifically, this
Mhm.
evening when I was taking pictures here, there was a special, like an event happening at the Victoria Market here in Melbourne, and I shot everything in black and white. But it's ISO 5000, and it looks pretty good to me. I can even enlarge it, and
Yeah.
not a lot of noise. And I haven't applied any special noise reduction uh, to these pictures, so I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
ISO 5000, it's not a super high ISO, but it's still, high ISO, I would say.
Yeah. And again, the grain and thing in there just kind of soften the image, uh so you're not, because we're not looking for technical. And that was a wonderful image. I really like sort of that scene there. There's a lot of information. for us to draw on from that scene, like, and questions, right? What is she doing?
Yeah.
uh, and I want to kind of get into that as well about.
Can I say one
Uh,
more thing about
yes, please.
the high ISO? I mean, sure, if there's nothing happening in the picture, it doesn't matter if it's noisy or less noisy, or a lot of noise or less noise. It doesn't really matter. Like you said, you're shooting wildlife, but if the bird is totally out of focus, or the bird or whatever animal, or if the composition is bad or something, it doesn't really matter if it's noisy or less noisy, right? So the main thing is that there's something interesting in the frame for the viewer, and after that, a secondary thing might be the noise level, if it's really too much or distracting in the picture. But there has to be something interesting there, right?
Right. And, I want to talk a little bit about, I don't know, can you bring up that image one more time for me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
And this is, oh, by the way, this is 1/250 f2.5 ISO 5000. So
right.
f
Um, what I, somehow this image just kind of, like I was saying, there's a lot of interesting things in this image, but it's also the composition is really nice. If you could talk maybe a little bit about when you're doing street photography, like this image here, what were you, you saw something happening, so you wanted to react quickly. So, your settings, like you said, 40 millimeters, 1/250. You didn't have to worry about zooming. You didn't have to worry about shutter speed. You let the camera handle the ISO, and you're not worried about noise. So all you had to do is concentrate on the composition and capturing that moment. Uh,
yes.
but I'd like to talk, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the composition, and because I see a lot of things here, but I want to hear your words. What made you want to capture this scene, and how you captured it? What makes this sort of very compelling image?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Yes, okay. This, as you can see in the bottom of the picture, there are old, like, color slides, the kind of pictures that we took back in the film days, and these people were checking out those slides, what's in them, and the device the girl is holding on the other girl's face or eye, it's a thing you put the slide in there, and you look into the light, and so you can see what's in
Mm,
the slide, or yeah, in the picture.
yeah,
And there were a few people doing this same thing, and it was not like a quick moment. But of course, when you see something like this, you want to act quickly, so you can be sure that you can capture it. And I was holding my camera. I was shooting using the back screen, not the viewfinder. Obviously, my camera angle is kind of low, but I think it works here quite nicely. And I'm shooting, like, through these two people. There's this guy on the right, and there's a girl on the left, and I think they framed the scene nicely.
yeah,
Uh, the Sony autofocus is so good. I don't
sure.
have almost never have to worry about that. I turn on the face recognition, and then I just point and shoot. Uh, but that's basically it. It was not a super quick moment, but
Well, I
you
think you're
still,
being a little modest because you still had to recognize a potential moment by people, like you said, you saw people doing this and you said, oh, that's kind of interesting. And you walked over and waited for this moment where she's kind of looking through this little viewfinder. And you just, this is something I've noticed about photographers, that are, I mean, that really, I think you're one of the masters of street photography, to be honest,
Well,
from the photos I've seen, because you just naturally came up with the framing of the people on the left and right. You saw the scene and the kind of, uh, things that are going on here that were really interesting. And there's a lot of interesting elements, like, you have this big sign in the background that says retro mama, and that naturally somehow, I just feel like you a lot of the elements in this scene just kind of came naturally to you, and you didn't have to think about it. And this is a skill set that will take some time to develop. But I love the layering of the little bin on the bottom. Sort of gives you a little bit of a foreground. Then you have the two ladies in the center for your main subject and midground, and then in the background you have this retro mama and some vintage looking cameras. So you've done frame within a frame, you've done layering, and then you have a distinctive subject and an interesting moment, and then lots of small elements that you can take that draws the viewer eye. Like she's holding what, a Starbucks coffee, maybe in her hand.
I don't know. Let's see if we can. It's
Oh,
some sort of a drink,
yeah, it's a
probably.
nice coffee,
Probably,
right?
yeah.
And so I this is an amazing photo for all these reasons, I think. Um,
You're too kind.
you know, I, I but see, this is something, if I went out, I would struggle a little bit to do the same thing. Even how it is when two people go out and go to the same location, they take the same, they take pictures, but the pictures are very, very different. And this shows I think your natural skill set and intuition has been developed over the years. uh, but I just want to try to articulate what I was seeing, uh, in this image.
You keep seeing a lot in this picture.
Well, that's the thing, is I think you're a little bit jaded by your own photography, because I purchased one of your photo books, which I guess that's what you call them, right? You download as a PDF, and I was just astounded by uh, the photography in there. And that's why I wanted, I asked you beforehand, make sure you have plenty of images that we can share with people, because it's really amazing. But you know, I don't know, maybe I said too much, but did you want to add anything to this photo? Maybe we can share another one.
I can share another one. One thing I
Okay.
want to say is that whenever you see a situation like this, for example, don't be shy. Just go up close and get the shot. People, when they are doing something like this, like the ladies in the picture, they are not going to notice what is happening around them. I was fairly close on 40 millimeter lens. I was not like up to their face. I don't like that kind of. I don't like Bruce Gilden's kind of
Mhm.
photography, but I was fairly close and I was obvious with my camera. They could have easily seen with my camera had
Yeah.
they just not been doing that. So just go and be brave, don't be shy. Go up close and get the shot, and worry about it later. And if people ask, "What are you doing? Why are you taking pictures?" then just have an explanation ready. Tell them that you're a street photographer, you are taking interesting moments, want to capture interesting moments, or
Mhm.
whatever it is that your explanation is. Have something ready, and most people are fine with that. And if they start arguing or they become upset or something, just tell them that you delete the picture and don't argue. I always respect your subjects or people you meet on the street. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I wanted to. But yeah, let's continue.
Okay. And that's an important point. I mean, I do feel like different countries, cities have different vibes when it comes to street photography, particularly towards the photographer themselves. I mean, I've run into a few bad experiences where I was doing nothing, and uh, but I do want to tell people not to let that discourage you, because I think you've probably had some moments. We've all had those moments, uh, but you still get out there, right? Um, and one thing I preach to, and something you just said is, don't be creepy and try and sneak a picture in. Own that you're a photographer and have the camera out around your neck or in your hand. you know Not trying to hide it. Just walk around like you're taking pictures like a tourist. And a lot of times when I did that, uh it happened just actually, yes, what's today, yeah, this was yesterday. I was actually doing a photo job, and I had my big tripod out and my camera gear and everything, and I'm out, sort of between a commercial and residential area. And this guy walked by and says, "Hey, take my picture. I want you to take my picture." Because I was there with this big camera, and so you get you it goes kind of both ways, right? Your demeanor, and as the more you go out, I think your demeanor will also feel less threatening or less creepy. I don't know how to say it. And that's what you were saying basically was, just have your camera ready to go and let people know that you're out there. And if you do get confronted, it's okay. Everything will be all right. um,
Yes.
but continuing on with the composition part, I thought that was a great example of a that had the photograph had so many elements in it that we can look at in a technical way, but like that capturing that moment and recognizing a scene that would be interesting is another thing. But let's take a look at maybe another photo you have,
Uh,
that where you do some framing or layering or whatever.
what what is it that we want to see? We want to see a. Let me share this one. This is a nice
Mhm.
one. Maybe not as complex as the other. See, hold on.
I didn't mean to overthink the last photo, but I just I just like I said, when I see your photography, I
This is something. This is something I really like. It's not as complex as the as the previous picture, but I think the light is just beautiful. My good friend Peter Fosgaard, some of you, some of the audience might know his channel and him. He keeps saying that when you're doing street photography, the light is not the most important, and I suppose I kind of agree. The the moment, the decisive moment, is probably more important, but sometimes the light is just so good that you have to take the picture. And this is Helsinki railway station, and the light was just so good that I had to take the picture. And also in this case, the lady, she was so concentrated on whatever was happening on her phone that she did not notice me at all. I took at least 5 or 6 different, slightly different compositions here, and I was kind of circling around her, and she didn't even notice me. And I was
wow,
holding my camera in plain sight and didn't try to be uh, pl- um, sneaky or a stalker or anything. But I think the light is just so nice here.
it is, and this is really another masterclass in street photography. I think in that I'm seeing a lot of the same elements. In this case, the layering or the depth of the image, but in this case, it's not because of specific things in the scene, like in the last one, but this one is the light itself is doing the layering. Because you have very strong foreground here and bright light, then you have your main clear, distinct subject, and then the background falls off in a nice dark, scene. So
Oh
there's
yeah,
good
can I add
layering.
one more? Can I
Yeah.
add one more? I did. I was not on this side of the scene when I first saw it. I was on the other side by the doors where the people in the background are. I was there, so I was on the other side, but I still saw that if I go to the other side, I
Hmm.
can probably there's a photo opportunity there. So I walked all the way from the entrance all the way to where the lady is standing and sort of behind her, and started looking for the perfect composition here. So
Yeah.
I was able to kind of see that there is a possible photo out there. So I was not on this side. I didn't walk into this kind of scene. I was on the other side, which, of course, the whole scene looked totally different because then it was like a front light situation when I first saw it. This is a backlight situation.
Yeah, and it really worked really well. The other thing I'm seeing here is there is a framing here with the shadows. The shadow itself is framed by another shadow, and then you have the framing of the shadow. The beams or lines in the shadows are also framing. Uh, so there's just like I said, I think, and you work the scene, which is I think, I don't know, is that like a rare opportunity to be able to work a scene like this, or is this you run into this, every now and then when you go out, or is it a pretty
Well,
regular thing?
it all depends. I mean, when I first saw her from the other side,
Hmm.
and she could have, there was a possibility that she walks away before I get to this position where I took the picture. But from the other side, it didn't look anything that special because it was a backlight, no, a front light situation. So
Hmm.
I just had to walk over to this side and see what happens. But luckily, she was, I don't know what she was doing with her phone, but she stood there for a good few minutes. So I had plenty of time to take the picture and several frames. Sometimes these situations are so fast that you only can grab one frame. Sometimes you can take your time and compose many different variations of the same scene. It all depends.
Yeah, and that's, and that I think also leads into sort of being familiar with your location, right? By going out on a regular basis and coming back when you know the light is going to be like this. Uh,
Yes, I. This is Helsinki main railway station in Finland, and I knew when I walked in, I knew that the light is going to be great.
yeah,
So it was just a matter of finding something in that good light. I got lucky.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's, the luck favors the prepared, right? uh, and there's also the beautiful rim lighting that outlines her. And of course, I guess a lot of the luck has to do with how she's dressed is very interesting as well, with the leopard scarf and this sort of designer handbag. And she's carrying
Yeah,
multiple bags. Uh,
I suppose so. Yeah.
yeah, come on, Maddie. You don't give yourself enough credit. So that's why I'm just trying to point out all these things. But this is my problem, right? I tend to overanalyze things, and I come from a very academic perspective sometimes, and I never get the shot. I could never get the shot. You know what I mean? It's like those that can't teach kind of thing. And you get out
let me
there and you have great photos here that you
let
can
me
show
find
people.
another
Sure.
picture here. I have a few selected for this live stream, but I'm just gonna take this one.
Hmm.
This is obviously in the middle of a department store, and the lady just looks interesting to me. The pink outfit, the dog, and everything. And I think I took two or three frames here. I was just taking the escalator downstairs. I think I was going to a meetup with a friend. And then all of a sudden, I was just casually walking by, and I see this lady, and I thought I have to take a picture, and I took a couple of pictures. It's now that I look at this picture after the previous picture, I noticed that there's a similar pattern here. She's also holding a phone,
Yeah,
which is of course
they're,
nothing
they're,
unusual these
they're
days.
watching your YouTube channel.
And everyone is holding their phone. But
Yeah,
anyway, yeah. And I really like this picture. I don't think it's anything like super special, but the pink outfit really stands out from this kind of
yeah,
brown gray background, and she looks interesting. uh, I mean, the everything, the outfit
yeah,
and the dog and everything. So another example maybe of a situation where you just when you see something, grab the shot, think later, and that's it. I
yeah.
could have easily just walked like past her without taking the picture, and then later I would have regretted uh, not taking the picture. So let's see the. I can't see the EXIF data. Let me.
Oh, I see it. It's 1/40th of a second, f 1.8, ISO 160,
Yeah,
and
one
shooting
stay a
five.
second.
Yeah.
And this is with the 35 millimeter lens. This is a lens that I was actually testing out
Mm-hmm.
when I was out there with the
Well, I
40
think,
millimeter. It
yeah.
would have been a little bit tighter the shot, but it still would work. 35 used to be my favorite lens, but today it's a 40. But still, I mean, it's a nice shot. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, also, what I want to say here that whenever you see something, just take the shot. Have your camera ready. Of course, that's one prerequisite here. If your
Yeah.
camera is in your camera bag or somewhere, then it's not much use. You have to have it in your hand, have it ready. And this also, I didn't have a small camera. I had my Lumix S5 Mark II
Mm,
and a relatively big lens. So it's not a small, discrete camera, but still, she paid no attention to me.
yeah.
And yeah,
Well, again, I have to point out a couple of things here. But
go ahead.
one is you have the pink coat lady has a light right on top of her. So
Hmm.
there, so she's automatically the key subject and the brightest thing in the subject, because there's elements here that could have easily been the subject of the frame, right? The dog, the mannequin, the doorway, but because the light is right on her, she becomes the brightest subject in the frame, and because of the
Oh,
color, is also makes her the key subject, and so that's one thing I noticed right away is, again, you saw this moment, and I think somehow intuitively you just were able to capture that particular uh, composition. Also, that she's standing right almost in front of the mannequin. They're both in a very similar pose, aside from her holding a phone. Creates kind of a symmetry there, which is really interesting. And then a nice accent to the photo. There's really two here. The very strong blue color coming from the door, and then the
hmm.
dog is looking right at you, doing his or her job, right?
Uh, and one thing I want to point out is the other lady in the black outfit. She is. I don't like her in the picture,
Yeah,
but of course I had no choice. But fortunately, she's wearing black, so she's not too distracting. But I wish she was not there. But
yeah.
it
That's
was a quick situation, and I couldn't stand there for too long. And she also started moving, the pink lady, after I'd taken, I don't know, maybe three shots, and So,
Yeah,
but fortunately, this person in the background is wearing black, so she's not too bad.
right. And there's a nice line between the dog and the lady, uh, which kind of frames them separately, right? In two different quadrants of the image. Uh, so again, um, another master photo, in my opinion, other than that one distraction, like you said. Uh, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's something there that um, we can learn from this photo, right? Um, but she is wearing black, so that helps. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that I'm with you on that one. It'd have been better if she wasn't in there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But that is street photography. You can't
Mhm.
control everything in the scene or almost nothing in the scene. You can only control your own positions, your camera angle, your distance, and all that. But you can't control the scene, and that's what you have to accept that when you shoot street. And that's, I guess, one of
Mhm.
the things that makes it also exciting, because most of the time, or pretty much all the time, the situations are unique. This
Mhm.
situation will never happen again exactly the same. At least there can be something
Right.
similar, but not exactly the same.
Right, and each photo has been very different from the last. Show us another one, Maddie. I wanna see what else we got here.
All right, let me okay, this one is a little bit different.
Mhm.
Hold on. Yeah, can you see it now? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
This is here in Melbourne, St Kilda Pier. And I really like this one. It's a little bit weird, I guess. You want to ask some questions when you see this picture. The first of the lady looks a little bit like out of place, and this one guy, I so much like it that he's behind the pole. And also those two people in the background, they are sort of they fill the gaps in the picture, and also the shadows are kind of pointing at them. And I I really like pictures like this. It's not the obvious, like a pretty picture, or the sort of the, I don't know how to explain it, but I like a little bit like a bizarre setups like this.
Mhm.
The backstory is that the lady here in that fancy outfit, she was posing for a couple of, my guess is amateur photographers. They are outside of the frame on the towards the right, but of course in this picture you can't see the guys, the photographers. And I don't know, you can tell me what you can see in this picture, but I
Okay.
really like this one. The colors, everything, it's really, in my eyes, it's a good picture.
Yeah, yeah, and, this photo here, when I first looked at it, I mean, that pole has to go, when I first looked at it, right? And the but I think you point out some interesting things here. Um, you know, I'm like, what's going on here, right? With this lady just kind of dressed up, and then you have like a couple of passerbyers and stuff that are kind of normal. So you start to think, is she there for some party, or is, like you said, turns out she was a model, but as a viewer, you don't know that she's there modeling for somebody, right?
Exactly.
Uh, so it's kind of interesting, and but
And there are layers here too. The
yeah,
pole, and the guy behind the pole, then the lady, and then the
right,
background behind the fence and the
yeah,
scene.
yeah, it's kind of, yeah, there's definitely that depth and key subject, and she's practically in the center. So it's really, you're kind of breaking a lot of rules here, uh, for what would be sort of your traditional photo, like you were trying to say that this is not your traditional sort of composition that you would do, and yet you really like this image for the interest, for the question marks that it draws, right? The fact that we can't see the person walking behind the pole, we can't see their face, so that makes it kind of interesting, right? Like, what what is he looking at? Is he looking at her, or is, you know, is he, what does he look like? There's some kind of mystery there, right? About that person. And the
Yeah,
same.
I think this is a slightly awkward picture.
Mhm.
I mean, the composition is a little bit like off, but I framed it. It's exactly how I wanted it to
Yeah,
look, but it is a little bit awkward position or composition, and but it makes you ask questions. What
right.
is this guy behind the pole? What is this lady? And so on. So I guess that's why I like it, and I like it because it is not the obvious like perfect composition.
Exactly, exactly. And this is another thing that I've noticed. You know, I always ask myself, like, if we were to post like these masters of photography, their images, right, into Instagram and things, how many likes would they really get? Because a lot of their best images are like this, where it's very unconventional, and yet it draws you in, and just gives you this. You know, I don't study the masters of photography that much, uh, that I can articulate who this reminds me of. But this photo reminds me a lot of some of the photography that I've seen by one of the masters. I just can't put my finger on it. Um, maybe
This
you might be able to suggest someone that this might be sort of in
I,
that.
I'm not sure. I'm influenced by so many of the masters, so
Yeah,
it all gets like mixed up in my head.
yeah,
Um, um, yeah, I was going to say this kind of a picture probably wouldn't work on Instagram or anywhere, pretty much anywhere on social
right,
media, because people just want to have that instant gratification or instant wow. Um, and this is not like that at all. You have to look at it and give it some time, which usually doesn't work on social media. This
right.
probably would work better on a photo in a photo exhibit on a wall, for example.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
a big print, not big, but print anyway, some sort of a print, so people would uh, they could walk up close and start looking at it and examining what exactly
Right.
is in the frame. It's a shame that these days so many great pictures. I'm not saying this is a great picture necessarily, but so many great pictures just don't get the sort of the appreciation they deserve because
Yeah,
of social media.
exactly. Now let's look at, let me look
Yeah.
at your thumbnails again real quick, if that's okay.
Sorry. No, I let me
No, you have
move
the
it.
image up. I just wanted to see all of them together again.
Yes, like so.
Um, Now, it looks like about a third of these are black and white, and you know, everyone, I guess, will have a preference if they like color or black and white. Uh, when you're doing your travel and street photography, do do you consciously make a decision when you're in the field what you're going to shoot in color or black and white, or is this something you think about in post processing? Tell me a little bit
No,
about that.
it's a conscious decision. Let me share a couple of black and white pictures.
Sure.
This has some layering too. I When I go out, I let's talk about my cameras. my GR is today is my black and white camera pretty much. This
Mm,
is I'm using the built-in black and white camera profile uh, just to see the screen in black and white, so it's easier to pre-visualize the picture. But I still shoot raw and fine-tune the picture in post. But
mhm.
yes, I make the decision. It's a conscious decision. I almost never uh, convert my color pictures into black and white in post. I like to shoot in black and white. I like to have my mind in black and white mode when I take black and white pictures, and that's how it works for me. And I also think that goes back to my film days. And by the way, I still sometimes shoot film
Mm.
today. When you have black and white film in your camera, loaded in your camera, then obviously you have no choice other than shoot
Right.
black and white, because you can't just all of a sudden change to over to color and vice versa. And that's how I like to work, and that's how it works for me.
Hmm.
And I'd probably buy a monochrome camera, dedicated black and white camera, if they were not so not so expensive.
Yeah. Well, I bought the K3 monochrome and I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And actually, it was a lot had to do with the video that you made on it when you had it for a little while. I saw
It's
your
it's
video on that. Yeah, it's a great
it's
camera.
such such a nice camera. It's just so big and heavy. Uh, and now
Yeah.
the GR4 monochrome is really interesting option, and
Yeah.
maybe
Pricey.
one day.
Maybe one day,
It's
right?
Yeah, it's not a cheap camera, but it's still the cheapest monochrome camera that you can buy new. I mean, I suppose some of the old Leica monochromes can be cheaper used. I don't know. Leicas tend to be so expensive,
Yeah.
no matter if they are new. Let me just see if I can. Here's another black and white
Hmm.
picture. I like taking pictures of people taking pictures, and I think
Yeah.
this describes the sort of the travel and street photography pretty well in one picture. I'm also taking a travel picture here, but it's a street picture at the same time. And also the person in the picture is taking a travel photo, obviously, of the Sydney Opera House. And
Well,
also
go ahead.
and it's also an example of a flat, cloudy day lighting, which in this case, in my opinion, works quite nicely.
Yeah, because you don't really notice the, I think black and white does lend itself to very flat lighting that you get on cloudy days. And this is a good example of it's relatively low contrast overall. You don't have really deep blacks. It's like they only, there's not really deep blacks here, just very dark shades of gray. And compositionally, again, you got the layering down mastered there. And what I find most interesting about this image for me is what is that thing in the back of that building?
That's Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, it's almost like it's looking back at you, right?
Now that you mention it, yes.
Yeah, and it's like, so they're taking a picture of something, and it's almost like it's not smiling, but it's kind of looking back at you, like, go ahead and take my picture, right? So
I suppose that's one purpose of the whole building. To maybe back then when it was built, it was not obviously designed for Instagram, but the main one of the main purposes probably was to like attract attention from all over the
mhm.
world, and maybe get people to travel all the way to Sydney to take a look at the the building.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, I mean, I've seen pictures of this building before, but I've never seen it from this perspective where it feels like it's looking at us like posing for a picture.
This is probably, if you want to take a picture of the building, this is probably not the best angle. It looks more awesome and more recognizable from another angle, and that's why probably most pictures are not from this angle. But we were on a ferry, and I saw this lady. There's a glass between me and the lady. I'm sitting inside, she's
Yeah.
outside. It was really super windy, and we didn't want to go outside. But then I saw her pull out the phone and start taking pictures, and then I realized this is my moment as well. And I
Yeah.
took a few pictures. Fortunately, she was holding the phone up for quite a long time. Maybe she was taking a video. I don't know. So I
Mm.
had plenty of time also here to sort of nail my shot. And I wanted the building in the background to be sharp, and I wanted these figures in the foreground to be a little bit blurry, which was not too difficult because the they are so close to my camera,
Hmm.
and building it so far, there was not enough. There was never going to be enough depth of field to have everything sharp in this picture. So it was perfect in
Yeah.
that sense.
It really is. This is another hang on the wall piece. You know, like the last one. It's just a really interesting. Uh, Gosh, I don't know. I don't know when I the few times I've gone out to do street photography, I can never get images like this. Uh,
You just have to practice.
I
That's what
guess.
I want to say to everyone. Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah,
Go out and take pictures, and every time you see something you think is a photo moment, just grab the shot and think later. You can always delete the picture, or ignore it if it doesn't work, but always take the picture. Then that's how you learn. If you just keep thinking about taking the picture but don't actually take any pictures, you don't learn, because then you don't see what would have happened if you took the shot.
absolutely. I feel like because you're not going other than the Sydney location, uh, the images are I don't know they're I feel like you could get these in any city, these kind of images, right? And
Sure, you could take this similar picture everywhere, because this same situation
mhm,
could happen somewhere else too. I just happened
right,
to be there.
right.
You know.
Yeah, I never. Yeah, that's interesting. This one is very striking as well. Like I said, just the way the building is like posing. Now, again, these are really great examples of the way you're using the light and shadows to frame things, as well as using color, and then also the layer effects that we've seen,
Mm,
and then drawing some curiosity as well, right? But
yes.
I know recently I saw, and I asked you to give us some examples of maybe some more creative ways of capturing street photography, because these other ones, as great as they are, we can always do something very
Let,
creative, right? That
let me
may
show
be,
you.
yeah.
Let me show you one with some creative motion blur. I was
Hmm.
talking about the motion blur. Here's one.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, it's quite interesting, and I really this is I shot raw, a little bit fine tuning in post, but this is straight from the camera basically. So everything that is happening here happened for real. I didn't add any effects in post. It's just let me let me check out the. It's a half a second exposure, obviously with an ND filter in bright daylight or some sort of daylight. And I really love the how the two ladies are sort of almost like perfectly positioned composition wise, and how all the blurry things are happening around them, and they just they are in the sort of so crisp and sharp, but everything else is blurry, and these other characters towards the left are sort of behind the veil or some sort of curtain.
Yeah, that's really a tough shot, I think. For me, because you have to kind of blend the right shutter speed, then the subjects have to be relatively still. This is almost, for me, I would look at this like a double exposure almost.
Well, in a sense, it is. If you think about it, there is the still part, everything that is perfectly like static or still in the frame, and then the moving parts are the like the secondary exposure. It all happened during one exposure, of course, but
Right.
you can also sort of think about it as a double exposure in a way. The still part of the image and the moving part of the image, if you like.
Yeah, that.
Uh, but I tell you, I took a lot of pictures in this situation. Fortunately, it's a pretty like a busy location here in Melbourne,
Mhm.
and a lot of people coming and going. And this also, of course, there was a little bit of luck,
Yeah.
so that these two ladies were so still for that half a second, and the tram was passing by at the right moment, and some people were also walking past my camera. Otherwise, I wouldn't get this nice purple part
Ah,
on the right, and
yeah.
also on the left, someone wearing something light colored, where they were walking
Right.
past my camera or entering my frame during that half a second exposure, and
Yeah.
they created this blur on the right, like the foreground blur on the right and on the left side of the frame.
So I think
And
oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think if you took this shot at like, because this is decent light, if you took this shot at 1/250th of a second, it would be very different images, and maybe more like a snapshot. Although there's still some really good compositional elements here with framing and depth, layering, but just using a long, dragging the shutter basically, it really elevates this to a different level, I think.
Yes, with any kind of a normal exposure time, like 1/250 or something, it would not be anything special, I would say. But this long exposure, longish exposure here,
Mhm.
I think it really makes the picture stand out.
Yeah, and like you said, that they were wearing, you got these two different colors on the left and right, sort of taking away or masking in a nice way the the uh, the unimportant things in the frame, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I have cropped this, like this is 16 to 9 aspect
mhm.
ratio. I think it works better because there's so much horizontal movement. So I
Yes,
figured the slightly like narrower frame works better than the native 3:2 aspect ratio on my
right.
Sony. And one of the things that I have to sort of thank here is the modern technology, namely IBIS in this case.
Hmm.
Is that handheld half a second exposure would not have been possible like 20 years ago,
Right.
never. But now it's just a normal thing to be able to handhold
Yeah.
about half a second on pretty much every camera, and every modern camera that is.
Yeah, it definitely gives you some choices in your creativity. Like, do you want the subject to be still in the frame and still have that motion blur? So IBIS kind of lets you get away with that, or you could turn IBIS off and get a whole different effect, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And you can, of course, you can set up a tripod and try something like this. But with
Sure.
when you are hand holding without the tripod, hand holding the camera, you are so much
Right.
more mobile, and you can move quickly and change your composition like in a split second, which is not possible with a tripod.
Right. Right. Like I said, yeah, the cameras these days are amazing. They give you so many options
Yep.
to be creative. Uh, like you said, this shot really wouldn't have been possible, or you'd have to be very lucky to get this shot without some of the modern technology we have these
Yep.
days. What else you
Fully
got,
agree.
Maddie?
Oh, let's see what I have here. Let's let's take this one. This is probably like one Instagram picture.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, the it's pretty obvious, the colored yellow stripes in the background. The lady wears yellow stripes, and but I guess this is one I would say this is one good example of a pretty flat light, and it still works well. I would agree that this works well because of the flat light. If the light was really, this is in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where the
Mm.
light can be very direct and hard, especially during midday. Um, it's almost right um, on like on top of you, the sun, and
Hmm.
the light can be very very harsh and hard. So this wouldn't probably be as nice if the light was like a direct sunlight.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense because if we did start having some harsh light and shadows, they become part of the composition and would distract from what you were trying to capture here.
Yeah.
Um, and this lady, she put a lot of thought into what she was wearing. Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
she
because
thought about the pedestrian crossing and everything.
yeah, I mean, she's really very thoughtful here. You can see her scarf has little touches of red that match the red in her fingernails. You know, and then the striping, you caught onto that with the striping on the street, and then front and center with the flat lighting, and you don't have to do more than uh, that, right? Because in all the other photos, particularly the first and second one that we showed, I felt like there were so many things going on in there that made it such an amazing photo. Because we talked about the layering, the framing, the depth, the light and the shadow. But in this image here, it's just strictly about the pattern, right? We
Yeah.
don't have shadows. We don't really have layering so much. Uh, and we don't have strong lighting or uh, all of the typical things that we we talk about when we talk about composition. This is strictly all about the pattern here, and just the coincidence that she'd be wearing a striped yellow shirt and standing in front of a striped yellow sidewalk, and that's all it took to make this a great image, really.
And this is a funny situation also. You can't see it when you look at the picture, but I was actually walking with some friends when I took this picture. And usually when you walk with friends, you can't really take picture. I can't take pictures
Yeah.
because it's more socializing. And we were waiting for the light to turn green so we can cross the road. And my friends Robin and Peter, they were standing right next to me, uh, but
Hmm.
they didn't somehow. Maybe they were talking, discussing something. They didn't see the situation, so I very quickly snapped one picture, and that's it. And this is quite obvious when you see something like this. You just have to take the picture, and it's not like you said, it's not a complex composition like the some of the other ones I shared. previously, but it's still
Mhm.
a nice picture. And why not grab a nice picture if it's right there in front of
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, exactly. This is where, like, you saw it right away, even though you had all of these distractions. And this just comes from experience and going out and practicing a lot. Why don't you share with us just one more image that we can
Sure.
end on a note here, that might encapsulate a lot of the things that we talked about today.
All right, let's
No pressure.
no pressure. Let's take I which one of these is I'm gonna I just want to share I'm gonna share another motion blur picture here, and
Okay.
this is from Helsinki,
Ooh.
Helsinki metro station. This is I made a I made a video about this about a year ago, and the video performed quite nicely. And I used this picture also in that video, and there's some POV footage also. Uh, if you go to my channel and check out the video.
Mhm.
But anyway, in this picture, I really like that this one guy in the middle, he's looking straight at me. And it's not like 100% sharp, but it's sharp enough. And
Sure.
he's just, it's also, let's see, the exposure. It's a 1/10 of a second exposure. So it's not a super long exposure, but the train is moving fast. So there's
Yeah.
enough motion blur in there. And I really, really like the especially the guy, because he's just looking straight at me. And I like this shot and the color. Everything is gray except the train, and yeah. But you can analyze it and tell me what
Well,
what you can see.
again, this has a lot of the elements that we've talked about before. There's layering. There's, even though this is overall the lighting looks balanced, there is some good contrast in lighting as well, with the subjects themselves being very dark for the most part. But there's an accent there with the red hood on the right, the bright blue coat on the left, and the motion blur itself, the very strong red train, right, is contrasting against all of these other things. Um, and again, the 16:9 framing, which I think, oh no, this might be 3:2. I'm sorry.
3:2. It's
Yeah,
not cropped.
right. It's not crop. I'm so used to 4/3. Everything looks 16:9 to me, but uh, yeah, I think, and there's just, your eye just kind of goes around the frame looking for other elements, but there's a lot of nice negative space as well in the not the platform, but the sidewalk there, with the geometric patterns. And so yeah, there's just a lot of things going on here, but I think the main thing is just the way that guy is looking at the camera. He's got this like look of like I don't know, surprise, I guess.
Yeah,
um
I took a couple of frames where the guy is in the middle, or maybe
mhm.
3 frames, but only in this one frame he's looking straight, like straight into my lens.
Yeah.
And even though it's not like perfectly sharp, it's a little bit, I don't know if I somehow managed to shake my camera, if the guy was moving slightly. Anyway, but I still want, this is my favorite because of the face and the expression and
Yeah. Yeah, that look, I think, is what kind of makes everything. And
yeah.
then just how everything else in the frame is really just a really nice backdrop to the subject. Because a lot of people, they would make the train, I think, itself the main subject, right? Uh,
Yeah, but also here I was lucky. The guy happened to be standing there. Of course, when I saw the guy, I thought,
mhm,
okay, now there might be something. But I was lucky that he happened to take a look at me for a split
right,
second.
exactly,
So,
and I think
but
that's what
but
makes the image is just the train, the motion blur, and everything are just a backdrop to highlight the person looking into the camera.
one more time, I just want
Mhm.
to tell everyone that take the shot, because then, like you said, I don't know how the phrase goes in English, but you can help, you can get lucky, and you can help your luck if you
Right,
you can work your luck, or how would you say it. But if you never take pictures, you never get lucky either. So the more you take pictures, the more lucky you also can get
right,
sometimes. And
or
it's not, so it's not pure luck. It's combination of of being able to see things, and then just a little bit of luck also sometimes comes in and makes the shot.
yeah. I mean, just getting out there and shooting.
Yeah.
You know, making it, I guess, going out on a regular basis and I guess developing your eye for street photography. You gave a lot of great examples here. Uh, from using light and shadow to create the depth, using layering itself of different items in the scene. Uh, using even like in the shot of the Sydney, Australia, you're just using what's in focus and out of focus to separate the scene and create that depth. But it's not always shallow depth of field, right? It's like you used a lot of elements, and then you show us this one of the lady where it doesn't have any of those things. It's just about the yeah. Now I'm at a loss for words, but that's a very simple shot that has really a lot of impact, I think. And I just want to ask you one last thing, maybe something you can share with the viewers. I think you kind of led into it a little bit in your last statement here, but if you could give people like a homework assignment or some really advice for people that want to get started into doing street photography in a more dramatic and impactful way, what would that be?
Oh,
That's a tough
I
one, I know.
I would say a couple of advices. I would encourage you to experiment with just one focal length, either a prime lens. If you don't own a prime lens, put your zoom into one focal length and use that. Maybe tape it there so you don't accidentally zoom in or out, and shoot like that for about a week or so. And I think actually my friend Peter on his channel, he just gave this same assignment, or he encouraged people to do that. And that's one good advice, and see what happens. 1 week or several days. I mean, if you only shoot once a week, then you need more time, obviously, than 1 week. But if you shoot every day, give it 1 week, one focal length. Um, it can be 40, 28, whatever you feel is comfortable for you. And also, whenever you see something, don't think, just grab the shot and think later. I think those would be my advice.
Mm,
Two pieces of advice that I can give today.
yeah,
Um, there is no, I don't think there's any kind of YouTube. I've also made some tips and tricks videos, and YouTube is full of
yeah.
like tips and tricks and promises that if you do this, you can instantly improve your
Oh, I
photography.
hate
That's,
that. Yeah,
yeah, that's never going to happen. You have to go
yeah,
out, you have to shoot, you have to practice, and you have to be able to see for yourself what went wrong and what went right, and then you can become better. It's a slow journey, but enjoy the journey, because I think the learning process is also part of the fun. And what's the hurry, especially if you are a recreational photographer? There's no hurry.
Mhm.
Just enjoy the journey and have fun with your photography. It's a different thing if you are a commercial photographer. Then failure is not an option. But fortunately, yeah, fortunately, we are just recreational photographers. We can do
Yes,
whatever we want. We can enjoy our photography.
right. Yeah, that's great. It really um, sort of ties the other thing we've talked about in the sense of, you don't want your gear to get in the way. Just simplify it. But I think it was a nice thing to add on, pick a focal length and do that for a week. And then, unlike me, don't overthink it, right? Take the shot and think about it later. That's great. That's great advice. Because yeah, we get paralysis by analysis, as they say. Um, but like I said, all of the photography you showed today really demonstrates what getting out there on a regular basis and getting that experience in street and travel, uh, to capture images like that without, just becomes intuitive, right? To create these images, you see a scene, and your mind is almost on autopilot to get the right framing, the layering, and all of that. But to get there, simplify things, right? Single focal length. Use program mode if you have to, and think about your shutter speed. You know, 1/250th, so that you don't run into hurdles like motion blur when you don't want it, right? So you're eliminating hurdles and barriers to great street photography, I think, and that's what I hope everyone picked up today, as I have today. These are all really great advice that you've shared with us today, man. And I really appreciate it. Um, and I just want to add that you've been such a great supporter of me and my channel and the viewers and the photography community in general. And I know we all appreciate that. And I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, Maddie. Thank you so
Uh,
much for your time.
are we gonna take any of the? There are some questions in
Oh,
the
I'm
in the comment.
sorry. I'm so terrible at live streaming. It's ironic, right? But yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why my chat thing doesn't work great, but if you saw a question, let's do if you have time. I didn't want to
I
keep
have
you
some
too
time
long.
still. Yeah,
Okay,
let's.
good.
If there are some questions, I didn't really. I couldn't.
Yeah,
I can only concentrate on one thing at a time. So I
right,
didn't.
right.
I can only see that there are some comments.
Okay, I think I
If
can
there are
do.
some questions,
There's one that was early. Just start at the top. There was an early one here about. I don't know if you know what the Olympus XA was.
yeah, I've had one in the
Oh,
past.
okay. Because I got an XA1. I guess this
Yeah.
is a gear question, but what would you think if they would come out with another camera like this? Whether it's 4/3, I guess. To me, the only difference between this and like a GR4 is the clamshell part. So
I think yeah, we already have a camera like this.
yeah,
It's this one here.
but what do you think about this clamshell? Or I'm not sure what is the appeal of this particular camera, which is implied through the question. A 35 millimeter f2.8 fixed lens.
Yeah, back in the day, it was such a tiny camera with some pretty like advanced features
Mhm.
for advanced photographers, and I guess that's the appeal of that camera, and it can take great pictures.
Yeah,
And of course, back in the day, the 35 millimeter film roll or the film cassette, it pretty much dictated the minimum size and shape of the camera. Today we can have pretty much anything we want. I mean, of course, the sensor size determines something, but it's not like the roll of film. so it had to be, it had to fit in. It had to, the film path had to like go across
Right.
the, the lens and all that. But I'd say that we pretty much have this camera, and we also have some other compact cameras that look like that. So yeah, it would be great if there was something like that.
I mean, I think the
But
Lumix L10 is
mm,
it's bigger than this, but I think that's a
that's
I
another one.
pre-ordered one. I pre-ordered one,
Ah,
so when that comes in, I know I can't help myself, but uh, I think you know, a camera like this might do okay. I put out a poll actually on this camera, if this were to come in a Micro Four Thirds version, and 2/3 of the people said not really. They're not really interested. I was a little surprised by that. So, anyhow, I guess let me see if there was another question. I feel I guess I did ask this question already. Your preference for shooting street, black and white, or color? So, I mean, you only showed us a small sample, but if do you have a preference?
no, not really. I think it's just that some days I feel like more gray than others. So
Okay,
it's not really any kind of a preference. Sometimes I like to shoot color, sometimes black and white, and
okay,
that's it.
uh, okay. Let me ask
But
you.
when I go out and shoot black and white, I'm in black and white mode
Right.
completely. My camera is in black and white. I never look at those. Okay, I say never, but let's say never. I never look at those pictures in color if I shoot them in black and white.
So
So
would you say it's more of a when okay, so you said you want to choose you choose kind of before you go out black and white or color, right? That and you get in that mindset. What's part of that decision process? Is it just something you feel like doing that day? So I feel like black and white, or is there a decision process? I'm going to go to this location, or the weather is like this, or do you make a decision when you make that choice?
yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's partly just something that I feel like doing,
Hmm.
but I think it's mostly that.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I go to a certain, like the picture I shared previously, where the girl was holding the thing
Yeah.
on the other girl's eye.
Hmm.
When I went there, I knew immediately that or before I even went there, I knew it was an evening low light event and lots of colored lights, which probably would not look very appealing in color.
Mm,
So I decided right away that I'm going to do it in black and white.
okay.
So sometimes, yeah, it
It's
depends
very
on,
deliberate. Yeah, you're very
yes,
deliberate, but a lot of times it's just I just feel like black and white today.
yes. But if I have
Mhm.
like a project in mind, I may decide in advance that it's going to look better in black and white. So I uh, decide to do it in black and white.
Yeah.
But I can't give you any like more significant, deeper, deeper explanation.
No, that's fine. I get it. You know, you just that's how I am. I don't know. A lot of times, you know, you hear like you showed the one image, the one in Sydney. You know, it was a cloudy day, and the black and white worked really well for that. And I hear that a lot. Where if the lighting is flat, shoot black and white. Um,
I'm not sure if that is necessarily true. I think it's more about the subject matter,
mhm.
and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and I also think that black and white can work really, really well in hard, harsh light too.
yes.
Depends on the subject, I guess, and what you want to. convey with your pictures.
Right. Okay, and then another question I have here is, because when we talked about settings, we didn't really say specifically, do you rely on auto ISO or do you set it manually, or do you
Yeah.
worry about ISO levels above 3200? So we kind of semi-answered that.
Yes, auto ISO pretty much all the
Mm,
time when I'm doing street and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
I don't worry about ISO levels above 3200. My limit for my Sony is 12,800.
Mhm.
For the GR, it's 6400. But if necessary, I can go higher than that because I think it's better to have a noisy picture than not picture at all.
Yeah. Yeah, or just working the, slaving to death in post-processing.
Yes, and
Yeah.
and if the picture is super super noisy, too noisy, you can
Yeah.
always try to uh, use some sort of an app to reduce the noise,
Sure,
and
sure.
most of the time it works really well, and you can still have a nice picture.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the noise. That's my advice.
Right.
But there are situations where I want to stay at the lowest base ISO of my camera. Like I was in Tasmania, I did some landscape photography, and
Mhm.
I really wanted to have the maximum like image quality from my camera. In that
Sure,
situation,
sure.
I made sure I'm at ISO 100 with my Sony, but it depends on the situation. But if I'm shooting street, I don't worry about the ISO. Auto ISO every time. I don't want to make it too complicated.
Exactly.
Just mm. And cameras are so
Exactly.
good, and I trust the engineers. They designed the camera to
Yep.
to work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we've been saying most of the stream is just don't let the gear get in the way. Let the camera handle things it can handle well, and don't think about, pick a focal length and don't overthink it. um, that's awesome. So, did you see any other questions? Because like I said, my chat window's not 100%.
I mm, Not really. I can't see
Okay.
any other significant
Right.
questions
Right.
here.
Okay. Um, I got one or two more kind of gear related. Uh, how do you feel about like tilt screen versus flip out screen versus just fixed screen like your GR? Do you have any?
Yeah, well, I got this new Sony A7 IV. I bought this in February,
Mhm.
and one of the changes compared to my previous camera, which was the Sony A7 IV, is the screen design, and I absolutely love it because now uh, I can
Right.
also
Just
tilt it like
tilt
so, and
or
it's yes, or flip it around whatever way I want,
right.
and this is fantastic. I mean, this feature alone, in my opinion, is worth the upgrade.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, I shoot a lot with the GR fixed screen, and it works. And this camera would be bigger and heavier if it had the same screen design as the Sony. So in this camera, I think it's just fine. But you gotta love this. It's
Yeah.
so good. I'm using this also for video, so I can see
Right.
myself like
Right.
so. But when I'm out on the street, I can do this, and it's so good. And the funny thing is that these days, I hardly ever use the viewfinder anymore for a
Hmm.
couple of reasons. On most cameras, the viewfinder is not very good for people like me who have to wear glasses. It's a struggle to see the full image area almost with almost every camera. But of course, with the screen, you can easily see the full image area, And you can also see, if you're holding the camera like so, you can also see what is happening outside of the frame. One of the things that Leica rangefinder shooters often mention, because in the Leica rangefinder you have the frame lines in the viewfinder, and when you look through the viewfinder you can see what is happening
Right,
outside.
right,
This is pretty much the same thing. If I'm holding my camera like a phone, I can see what is happening outside of the
right,
frame, and it's easier to predict what might happen next.
right.
That's another advantage. And now I'm so used to holding my camera like this that I don't even, look through the viewfinder anymore so often. And that's one of the things I also would encourage people to try. Every once in a while, I get comments for my videos that you shouldn't hold your camera like a phone. It's wrong, and without the viewfinder, a camera is garbage. But I don't think it's true. There are many, many advantages of using the screen. So I encourage you to try it out and see what happens if it changes your pictures, or the style or the way you shoot. Um, and
Okay. Just pardon me for 1 minute. Keep talking, but
yeah,
I'll be right back.
with, um, where was I? Yes, and if you have a stabilizer these days, it's um, it's not so hard to keep your camera steady, even if you hold it like so. I sometimes get comments too that it's not stable to hold your camera like this. You should be holding it against your forehead to keep it more stable. But these days we have IBIS on pretty much every camera. So in my opinion, it's not so necessary anymore to have it against your forehead and hold it with your both hands in order to get sharp pictures. That is something to try out if you are strongly against using the back screen. It's my tip. Like I said, I almost never use a viewfinder anymore because the screen is so good and practical. Now I don't know what happened with Rob, but let's
Oops, I'm sorry. I'm back.
all right.
Sorry.
Great to
Uh,
see you.
yeah, my mistake. But yeah, like you were saying, the technology with the IBIS gives us we can just hand hold things out, and we don't really need the EVF so much for the stability purposes. Uh, and a lot of people do wear glasses, so um, this is not always that easy, right? Because holding it out, you can see people or things that might come into the frame where you can get a better shot. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's a little bit old-fashioned, old school to think that you should squeeze the camera against your forehead in order to
yeah,
get stable shots.
yeah,
Today, it's not so true anymore. It might matter in some extreme situations if you're really pushing the limits of your stabilizer or IBIS. But in most normal situations, it really doesn't matter. It matters more to get the shot, and also because, as we all know, you can with the flexible screen, you can hold your camera up
right,
or down. You can have much more like different kinds of angles with your camera if you use the back screen. So it
hmm
can give you some, versatility, also
yeah,
variety.
yeah. I found that being able to tilt the screen up for the low angle shots, especially as you get older, is one of the greatest things. uh, but also there's a practical sense that, like today, I was shooting along the river, and you can't necessarily get down on your hands and knees and lay down and take a shot because it's wet. you know So you can just set the camera down low to get that water level shot
Yep.
with the way the screens articulate these days. But another question here. This is a good one. Maybe this is, but do you tend to rely on the histogram when you photograph, or does it get in the way?
I don't use histogram. I don't do any of those things. I just let the camera's automatic exposure do its thing. When I did my low light video, please go check it out on my channel if you're
Yeah.
interested. A little bit of a shameless plug here. Anyway, yeah, a lot of people, I didn't talk about it in the video because I didn't think it was important, but a few people asked me about the metering mode, whether I use spot meter or something, but I just use the multi-metering or the matrix metering on my Sony. Sony calls it multi-metering. It's the default metering
Mhm.
mode, and I just use that. And in those low light situations, in the city, you have a lot of relatively bright highlights and a lot of dark areas. I sometimes apply a little bit of negative exposure compensation just to preserve the
Mhm.
highlights, and then in post I can pull up the shadows. Um, but yeah, I don't like to use spot meter or too complicated systems. It's just
Mhm.
automatic, and in most cases it works, at least on the Sony and also on the GR. It works so well. I don't have to interfere
Yeah.
and intervene. It just works. Uh, Sometimes it's very obvious when you look at the screen that now it's too dark or too bright. Then I apply a little bit of exposure compensation, but most of the
Right.
time it just works. The 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 camera designers or engineers, they know what they're doing, and
Yeah.
they know how to program the camera so that the exposure is pretty much optimal in
Yeah.
every possible situation, and they know the limits of the sensor and everything. So why not just sort of take advantage of that and enjoy finding the composition and all those things,
Right.
instead of thinking too much about the technical stuff. Uh, However, I would say that it's useful to know how everything works, how what the exposure values really do, and how your camera performs. Encourage you to find out the limits of your camera and how the sensor works and all those things. It's never a bad thing to understand your camera, also the technical side of your camera. But when I shoot, I most of the time don't want to think about it, especially when I'm shooting street and that kind of uh, uh, that kind of thing, stuff where the technical execution is not the most important.
Right.
However, if I was doing a paid assignment for a client who pays me obscene amount of money,
Yeah.
I would of course do my best to nail the technical execution too. That's a different thing. But when I'm out there enjoying photography, having fun, I don't want to bother myself too much with the
Yeah.
technical
Like you said,
details.
most of the time the camera will get the exposure like 80% there at a minimum, and occasionally you might have to make some adjustments. Uh,
Yes,
that and that's been my experience as well with just about any camera, regardless of brand, any modern camera, I should say. Um, and I I know sometimes we run into uh, well, let me shift over to like your autofocus, you said you rely, you know, like in one of the images, you found that the Sony Face Detect worked really well. Uh, what if, you know, you have a less sophisticated camera like that before face and subject detect came along? You know, how do you autofocus? Do you, you know, I've heard things like zone focusing and uh, you know, what is it, focus and recompose, all of these different techniques that we don't talk about much anymore because the cameras have gotten so sophisticated. But how often do you still rely on those kind of older or, you know, more main, mainstream techniques in autofocus?
Yeah, well, I seldom have to rely, even with the GR, I seldom have to rely on anything else than the autofocus, even though this camera is known for its kind of mediocre autofocus. But
Mm,
it still works for me really nicely. When I see something, I just, press the shutter. Sometimes I recompose. I also have the touch screen, enabled so I can, if I see a rock there, I just put the focus point on your face and press the shutter, and the autofocus is still fast enough for most situations. However, the GR has a nice feature called full press snap. So when I
yeah.
quickly uh, press the shutter all the way, it goes to my pre-selected snap focus distance,
Hmm.
which is usually 3.5 or 5 meters, and that can save the shot in some really really fast situations. I just pull out the camera, quickly press the shutter, and
Right.
so it's sort of same thing as the hyperfocal distance or pre-focus distance
Right.
or whatever you want to call it. It's not often necessary, but it comes in handy in those
Sure.
really quick
Sure.
situations.
And it's a great example of when people think about the latest and greatest and getting a camera. You know, I always tell people you have to ask yourself what photographic challenge is this camera solving for you, right? And in this case, if the GR5 snap focus is going to solve uh, your street photography problems that you're having with focusing, you know, then maybe it's worth getting one. But I think for a lot of people, that's, you know, they don't think about uh, they, you know, they get they fall into gas like me, where you just think about, oh, this is the latest and greatest, this is awesome, but I'm not thinking about what photographic challenge is this camera going to solve for me, you know, that my old camera can't do already. uh,
Yeah, you just have to know your gear and know
mhm.
how to make it work for you, and know the shortcomings and how to get around them, I suppose.
Right.
And when we look into the past, there are so many great pictures made with very simple manual focus
Yeah.
cameras, and the pictures just look great.
Right.
So we don't need a modern camera like the Sony A7 V or whatever Canon R6 Mark III or the latest Nikon. We don't need these cameras for great pictures. They are very nice cameras. They add a lot of convenience to our photography, which is of course nice. I really, really
Right.
enjoy, for example, the autofocus on this camera. It's
Hmm.
it's so convenient, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but it is possible to make great pictures without it too. You
Right.
just have to work around it, and
Right.
maybe it's not always so convenient, but it's still possible, and that can also be uh, like a challenge and a learning process. And it's good to know how you can work also or get shots without autofocus with manual focus, for example.
Yes. Yep. You can adapt, you know, manual focus lenses if you want to mirrorless cameras, or use
Yeah.
the native lens in manual focus mode. It's a little awkward, you know, this focus by wire for me anyway. Uh,
Yeah, it's not nice.
yeah, I would prefer just to adapt the manual focus lens. But I
Yeah.
wanted to share this comment from Eric. He says, Maddie, I absolutely hated my GR3X at first, but once learned how to make her sing, it has been my most used camera.
Mhm.
And that's a testament to getting to know your gear for one, but also I know this viewer I know pretty well because like we know our viewers pretty well, but he he was this camera solved a lot of challenges he was having. Specifically, he wanted a pocketable camera with decent quality, right? And that's why he bought it, right? Because he has a job where he is outdoors all the time, and he can't be lugging a camera with him. Even
Yeah.
even something like I think he had an OM1 before, and it was too much, right? To have this with him all day long on his job. He wanted something to have in his pockets. So it definitely that solved a problem for him because there's nothing the OM1 can't do that the GR3 does. In fact, the OM1 is a flagship camera, so it does a lot more, but it didn't solve his problem, you know.
Yep.
Uh, so this is a great example of that. And Roger's here. He's asking about RAW or JPEG. I think you answered this early on, but if you could share that again. Uh,
Always raw. Always
always,
raw.
yeah,
Because um, previously in this video or stream, I said that I like to fix it in post. That's an exaggerate or a joke,
right.
but it's a little bit true. When I'm out there shooting street, I mean, if you want to have a perfect JPEG, you would have to do so many things before you hit the shutter. You would have to tweak the contrast, the colors, and everything, but you can't possibly do that before every picture. So I prefer to do those afterwards in post, and RAW gives me that opportunity. And if I'm going to fine tune the picture in post anyway, I might as well shoot RAW. I know that you can also tweak JPEGs to some extent, but if I'm going to do it anyway, I might as well shoot RAW. And that is just the way I like to do it. I fully understand if some people don't want to do it. If you really like JPEGs, go ahead and shoot JPEGs. But I prefer RAW. And one of the things why I originally went for RAW is it goes way back to my first digital camera, which was the Nikon D1. And back then, there was no, of course, that camera shot RAW, but there was no sensible, practical workflow for RAW processing. There was no Lightroom back in 1991, 2000. There was no Lightroom or no other practical workflow for RAW pictures. So when I shot pictures for clients, of course, I needed some sort of a sensible, practical workflow in order to go through the pictures, select the pictures, and post-process them. So JPEG was the only practical way to do it. And also back then, the raw processors were really primitive compared to what we
Yeah,
have today.
yeah,
So, and when Lightroom came, it was the first like proper app that had everything in one app, the catalog or the library and the raw processing. And when that came, I was so excited, and I really wanted to exploit those raw files because, especially when you shoot commercial work, it's really important to nail the colors and tones and everything. So and yeah, that's my background, and that's why I still like to shoot raw. And to me, it makes no sense to adjust every picture before I take the shot. I try to do it afterwards, a little bit like traditional darkroom work with film. It's the same thing in a sense that you expose the negative, then you process the negative, then you make the print in darkroom, and that is something similar to raw processing. That
Right.
because when you make the print, you make final adjustment. You may darken some areas to print and so on. Even when you process the film, you can opt to push the film or pull the film to change the
Yep.
tonality and everything. But I'm not saying that raw is the only way to go. It's just my way.
Right, right. And because I was gonna say entire camera companies, you know, uh, were built on their JPEGs. The film simulations and Fujifilm uh, seems to be one of the major draws of that camera system.
It's a
Um,
very, very clever marketing
mhm.
trick. And yes, some of those simulations look really nice, but they really, really took advantage of their film legacy. And
Yes.
they are pretty much the only camera manufacturer who can say that, because no other camera manufacturer has ever made film. There's never been Nikon film or Canon film, maybe some rebatched rolls
Yeah.
somewhere, but they really didn't manufacture film. Um, but Fuji has a long history with that, so it was really, really clever for them to
Mhm.
come up with those film simulations,
Right.
and it seems to have worked nicely for them.
Yes. I mean, their cameras all have a dial for film simulation. Well, not
Yes,
all, but they're starting to put the film simulation right on the camera as a physical dial. Whereas
yes,
every other camera system, they have filters, but it's buried in the menu, right?
yeah.
Um, and I, I'm with you. I always post process, and I try to keep it relatively minimal by getting the exposure I want in camera, so that when I go into post, it's just a matter of where do I want to crop it? Do I need to straighten the horizon? That kind of thing. Um,
Yes, my post processing is very, very simple. I don't do anything major, just a little bit
right,
of a highlight, shadow adjustment, maybe
right.
contrast, occasionally minor crop or leveling the horizon or something. I don't do anything heavy
Mhm.
in post, but I still like to be able to do that. And I want to give my pictures the finishing touch. And I also keep saying that because many people say that they don't want to spend time at computer. They don't want to look at their pictures
Right,
after they've taken them. But how do you expect anyone else to want to look at your pictures, even if yourself don't want to look at them?
right, right. Let me
I
ask
mean,
you.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was going to ask
Well,
you. Sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
One more thing. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, if you have a nice picture, I think it deserves at least 5 minutes of post processing to make it look even better. And also, sometimes or all the time, when you look at your pictures um, on a bigger screen, you can make like a second judgment if it
Mhm.
really is a good picture or not. So I think it's important to also to take a look at them after you shot them and give them
Right.
some time and a second look and so on. Yeah. So go
Right.
ahead, Rob.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say raw images generally need to be processed, even if the exposure and everything is perfect. They're generally a little bit flatter, a little bit lower contrast. Uh, if you actually can, if you actually see the true raw image, because uh, some editors like OM Workspace, when you open up a raw image, it's showing you the processed raw image, like what the JPEG is going to look like if you export it, because it's applying natural filters,
Mm.
a tone curve. Other raw processors, like I use DxO, when you pull up a raw file, nothing's been added. There's no lens correction, there's no color processing. so they have to be processed when you use the raw. And there's presets to automate all of that. But uh, that said, what you know, since your processing is minimal, do you what sort of uh, raw processor do you use nowadays, if any?
I have mainly two DxO Photo Lab and Lightroom, and
Hmm.
de- excuse me, depending on the situation, I use either
Sure.
one. I like them both. DxO has one big advantage, and it's their excellent lens profiles. You also use a lot of Photo Lab, so you know what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah. As far as raw processing goes, I prefer DxO. I know with Lightroom, they, it's very, very powerful software. Uh, but the Achilles heel to Lightroom is their cataloging system, right? A lot of people, once they get deep into that, it's hard to get out of Lightroom because of
That's
the,
true. Yeah, the catalog, the library has some excellent features,
yeah,
like the GPS coordinates, the map feature, which I don't think any other app has. And it's so
yeah,
nice to see where you actually took your pictures.
exactly.
And by the way, speaking of that, I have when I'm using my Sony A7 V, I have the Sony app always like activated on my phone, and I pair the camera and the phone, and I get the coordinates, the GPS
Right.
location in my pictures. And with the Sony, it works really, really well and is super
Hmm.
reliable too. I haven't previously used it so extensively with any other cameras because it's always been slightly unreliable, and the
Mm,
coordinates did not always appear in the picture or in the metadata. But
mm,
with this Sony, it seems to work quite nicely, and I've enjoyed it a lot. But anyway, yeah, back to Lightroom. Lightroom has that feature. You can click the picture and you can see where you took it, and it's one of the best features. But you are correct. If you get into that, it's so hard to get out of it from
yeah.
out of Lightroom.
Yeah. I weaned myself off of it. I would say I never really got heavy into the cataloging system uh, because I always maintained a hierarchy on my hard drive so that even if Lightroom
Mm,
crashed, I could still find most of the things I care about because of the way
yeah,
I organize my hard drive. But yeah,
I
I
think
know a
that's
lot of.
I think
Go
it's a
ahead.
very good tip to maintain the file system also on your hard drive, so you can actually find the pictures at least by the date or something.
Right.
Uh, if something happens to your library app, because if you just have one file or one folder with
Yeah.
thousand, how are you going to
Yeah.
find anything?
Exactly. Exactly. And then Roger suggesting you submitted one of your photos to my editing streams on Friday. I'm not worthy to edit your photos, Maddie.
I,
I'll tell you
I
that.
can I can do that.
You,
Maybe
you,
I can learn something from you.
oh my God, you might get mad at me if I edit. Don't put your name on it if you do, because I'm gonna get nervous. Just submit the photo anonymously. That would be best. Um, but yeah, I think again, we've kind of post processing. I know we were talking about travel and street, but post processing is definitely a very important part of photography and creating your vision that you saw in your mind, when you captured the image originally. And what photo editor you decide to use, I guess it's up to you. They're all pretty good. If you know I you know but I'm done. I don't want to overthink it. I keep doing that, because every software has kind of their pros and cons. Just pick one and stick to it. Um,
Yeah, it's like cameras. There's no one perfect camera for
right,
everyone. And
right.
one, I mean, even I really like my Sony. I really love my GR, but
Yeah.
they are not perfect cameras. Even for me, there are some things I'd like to change, but you just have to pick one and learn how to use it and
Yeah.
stick with that.
Yeah.
And
Just know your gear.
your pictures are not going to be any better if you keep switching cameras or post-processing apps. Just learn to use it, and I guess you have to somehow like the camera or the app in the first place. But
Oh,
the
sure,
main
sure.
thing, main thing is to learn how to use it, and
Yeah.
and
I mean, as always, do your due diligence, research finding the camera or software that you want to use that you think is going to work best for you. But once you get it, just learn to use it. And until something comes out that you think will solve a problem, there's no need to switch or buy gear, buy software, you
yeah.
know. But
I,
and I only mentioned the cataloging system because that is the Achilles heel for Lightroom. It's also the Achilles heel for DxO that it doesn't really have. It has a catalog, but not really.
yep.
It. But that said, okay, man, we're running over 2 hours again. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you said you could stay longer, but uh, I had that great outro like half an hour ago. I don't know what to say now. But it's as always, it's been a great pleasure to have you here, Maddie. And
It
it's
was a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
yeah, and I'm glad we're able to get together this year, even though you missed the Four Thirds meetup. Uh, it, but in the end, all of us, I think our message is, uh, the gear doesn't matter. It's really about the photography and the craft itself. So go out and shoot. Don't overthink it. And you guys, I hope to see you guys all again soon. Thanks for being here, Maddie.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Okay.
See you in the next one.
See you next time.
Bye bye.